One, two, three. Right, let's talk about pride today. So, Amanda, pride, do you see that as a positive emotion or a negative emotion?
I regard it as mainly negative, I have to say.
Do you?
Yeah, when people ever say to me, "Oh, what are you really proud of?" I feel very challenged by the question, because I just think, actually, I suppose I'm full of all of the sort of idioms like pride comes before a fall, and so you kind of
Yes, yes.
full of all those sort of expressions where, no, it's not a good thing to feel proud. Um, but then I think it's easier to feel proud of someone else. So, for instance, if I see somebody achieving something that I know, like my children or family friends or whatever, and they do something and they do it well, and I feel proud of them. I don't feel there's anything wrong with that feeling.
Mm. But do you think that stems from you not being able to acknowledge yourself?
I think there is something in that's possible. I think we talked about it off camera, where I think if you are proud of yourself and you acknowledge that, maybe to a friend or whatever, there's nothing wrong with that. I think that's great. What I struggle with a little bit is if you're proud of yourself and then you just tell everybody or listen.
Yeah, and maybe if you're, yeah, exactly, I totally agree. Like, feeling proud of yourself if you've achieved something, it's like, oh, I'm happy with myself, I've done that. But then, like, yeah, like you said, if you're just proud for no reason at all, I think that can be a bit arrogant, can't it?
Yeah, yeah.
And it becomes a negative trait.
And I think for me, and I suppose this is just the way I think about things, is that very often you'll see on social media, you'll see people saying, "Oh, this is a proud moment for me," and they're sort of showing off whatever it is, and you just think, that to me is the verging on the ego, where they're feeding their own ego to. And David Hawkins talks about in his book, he says the differences between pride when it's not so good for you is when you're looking for a recognition from other people.
Wow.
So you can feel proud of yourself, that's okay, but when you're looking for other people to validate you in your pride, then you've kind of flipped over to the ego side of it, where it's not necessarily going to be helpful to you.
Yeah, and I guess when you're looking for validation from others, you can't be in a good vibration either, because you wouldn't need validation, would you, if
No.
you're just
No.
feeling it from yourself, which is ultimately what we need to do.
I mean, what David Hawkins suggests is, rather than feel pride or feel proud of yourself, feel joy, feel celebration.
Oh, I love that. Yes, joy, because that's really high up, isn't it? But pride, we're in the middle now, aren't we, on pride?
Just below. So courage is the middle.
Oh yes, courage is the middle.
Just below. So we're getting there. And pride is very good in terms of, elevating you to courage, getting you to that point where you can then make new steps. But you just have to be very conscious of humility versus pride.
Sure.
It's what you're doing to move towards it.
It's so interesting, the levels of vibrations that he measures them, doesn't he?
Yes, he does.
I can't remember what pride is, 175 or something. I don't know. But yeah, he measures them. I think courage is 200. I can't. Yeah, it's just so interesting. How did he measure the levels of vibration?
I'm not sure.
I know that's I just thought about that, but no, it's interesting. Yeah.
It's an interesting one, because it actually is something which I think a lot of people think is, it's linked to sort of snobbery and arrogance, and I think we see quite a lot of pride on social media, don't we? We see a lot of people sort of showing off, and I guess from my childhood I was told not to show off, and so it's again like you're saying about me seeing pride as not a good thing. Actually, it's important to acknowledge that it is when you're only celebrating for yourself. It's not.
Well, I think it's when you don't want something from it. Like if you're saying it because you want something from somebody else,
But what if they don't give it to you? Because if somebody doesn't acknowledge your achievement, so if you're saying to me, "Oh, I got an A star in this exam," and I think, "Oh, so what?" then I'm not validating your feelings.
Exactly.
And so you're going to then feel crushed by that. And that's why I think social media plays into that vulnerability that people have when they do something good. The minute somebody says, well, that's rubbish, I don't say why you're celebrating that. People feel crushed.
Yeah. Do you think then most of the time pride comes from wanting to be validated from others? Because you can just feel proud of yourself. So like, and I guess that's why they said, didn't they? If you're just proud of yourself for achieving something, that's you're at a good vibration. But then if it's trying to get validation from others, then it becomes a different vibration. So maybe there must be actually two sides of the vibration, depending which one it is.
I think when you're in this position where you're trying to get validation, you're very vulnerable. And so basically, if that vulnerability is fierce, then you could go back down the scale, couldn't you?
Yeah, it's like being externally validated. Anyway, let's continue this on my page, LinkedIn. So come over and watch.
It'd be great to see you there. Sorry.